Assalamu alaikum. My name is Brother Minister Wali Muhammad out of Killeen, Texas. I am your brother and a student of the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. As we always do, we open up our meetings in prayer. So please allow me to open up our meeting with our opening prayer. Please follow along silently with me, please. Position of prayer. Surely I have turned myself to thee, O Allah, trying to be upright. To he who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not of the polytheist. Surely my prayer and my sacrifice, my life and my death, is all for Allah, the Lord of the worlds. No associate has he, and this am I commanded. I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King. There is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been greatly unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So grant me protection against all my faults, for none grants protection against faults but thou. And guide me into the best of morals, for none guides to the best of morals but thou. And turn away from me the evil and indecent morals, for none could turn away from me the evil and indecent morals but thou. O Allah, make Muhammad successful and the followers of Muhammad successful, as thou hast made Abraham and the followers of Abraham successful. For surely thou art praised and magnified. O Allah, bless Muhammad and the followers of Muhammad, as thou hast blessed Abraham and the followers of Abraham. For surely thou art praised and magnified in our midst. Amen. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, most merciful Savior, I can never give enough thanks to Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, for raising in our midst the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. To Allah and his last messenger do I submit. I would like to greet you once again in the words of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum. I would like to welcome everyone to another edition of Muhammad's Sunday Lectures, brought to you by the Nation of Islam, Muhammad's Temples United. Muhammad's Temples United is a group of believers who are striving to maintain the essence or the origin of the teachings and the practice of Islam as taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So we do our best in representing Allah and his messenger, and we ask that you tune in every Sunday to hear these life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which are being represented to you by different ministers across the country. I would like to thank everyone for taking their time to tune in. These lectures are brought to you every Sunday, 3 o'clock Central Standard Time, 4 o'clock Eastern, and 1 o'clock Pacific. We would like for you to catch them during those times of streaming on YouTube under Muhammad's Temples United, our YouTube channel. and other streaming platforms. And we ask that you, if you're interested in hearing more about the life-giving teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or you want more information, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Our contact information will be in the closing of this lecture. So we would like to definitely hear from you. We've been hearing from many people as they have been following our lectures, but we have so much more to offer you than just these Sunday lectures. We want to extend the opportunity to our people to reclaim their own, which is Islam. And for those of you who have already reclaimed your own and are registered members of the Nation of Islam, we would like to hear from you also, to kind of bring about or to establish a unity amongst the believers across the country, because that is very, very important in this day and time, our unity. So we'd like to thank everyone for tuning in to these Sunday lectures. Today's lecture is entitled Trials and Tribulations. Trials and Tribulations. Now, this is a very, very important subject, a very timely subject as it relates to the time that we're currently living in and what's happening in the world today. This particular lecture was inspired by one of our beloved ministers, Minister Haq Muhammad out of New York. During our FY class, he spoke on trials. And one of the things that was so important was a question that he asked. He asked, how do you know when you're going through a trial? So I would like to pose that same questions to all of you. How do you know when you're going through a trial? Right? Write that down, because I want you to ponder over this. Because when you're dealing with trials, we have to understand the purpose of the trials. Why do we go through trials? So, as I will explain as I go through the lecture, but we would love to hear from you. Go to our Facebook page, Muhammad's Temples United, or you can, chat in on our YouTube channel and give us your answer to that question. How do you know when you're going through a trial? So again, the lecture is Trials and Tribulations. Every believer, every nation, and every people must go through trials and tribulations. Going through trials and tribulations, the hardships of those trials and tribulations could either break you or they can shape you. They can strengthen you, they can prepare you for what's to come, and it can also elevate you, right? So in this particular lecture, my objective is to explain the difference between a trial and a tribulation, because there's a difference. and also show you the relationship between trials and tribulations. Also to help us understand why Allah, God, permits us to go through these trials and tribulations. Also to show us how it helps us to grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally, morally, and most important is to prepare us for what's to come. So I would like to start off my lecture by asking the question, what is a trial? Or what are trials? By definition, a trial is a test. It is a challenge. It's a proven process. And it's also designed to measure faith, to measure your patience, obedience, and character. Right? Character. What makes you you? Right? Now, some examples of personal trials that we all may have experienced. We have faced, of us have faced financial hardships. You know, when you're struggling financially and you're trying to figure out how to make ends meet. We faced trials in the way of illness. You know, a lot of us have suffered from certain illnesses or know a loved one who have suffered from certain illnesses. And to go through that is a personal trial. We've had family struggles, domestic situations that we had to deal with, which was a trial or a test of our relationship. Some of us deal with loneliness, oppression, betrayal, which also constitutes in family or domestic situations, or just a personal relationship where you've been betrayed by someone. That is definitely a test or a trial. So there's other personal trials that we've gone through, but these are just some of the examples of what a trial can be for us in our personal lives, right? In the Holy Quran, it teaches us, and we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger and loss of wealth and lives and fruits, and give good news to the patient, right? So here Allah is telling us that we will go through trials to be tested, and what type of trials that we can expect. Trials are often temporary and personal, right? Unlike tribulations, they're usually, for a short period of time. And Allah generally used those trials to expose our weaknesses, to show forth our strengths, sometimes our intentions. Some of us hide our intentions, but certain trials can show forth those intentions. Is that right? And it can also show forth our faithfulness, right? When we go through a certain trial, and if you stay steadfast through that trial, it shows forth your faithfulness or your commitment to what you believe and what you practice. So those are some examples of trials, you know. So now I want to go into understanding what tribulations are, right? See, first I want to have us to understand what a trial is, or what trials are, and what are tribulations. By definition, a tribulation is a severe suffering, right? You know, like with trial, we mentioned, going through a certain illness, but this is a more severe suffering, you know, whether it's dealing with your health or, your personal life, it's more severe, more detrimental. Oppression, like I spoke of, it's a more severe oppression that you may be going through. Whether it's with your personal life, whether it's with your job, whether it's in society, Black people here in America, we go through a sense of oppression in today's society because the way that this society is structured, it opposes the freedom and the justice and equality of the Black man and woman. This is why you see us constantly fighting for those things: freedom, justice, and equality, because the system opposes us particularly, when it comes to freedom, justice, and equality. So if you don't have that, then you're being oppressed to that which is rightfully due. This is what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us in Islam. Islam means peace. And what constitutes peace? Freedom, justice, and equality. That brings about peace. So, oppression, intense affliction, right? And widespread difficulty or pressure, as it is just not confined to you. It affects us as a people, right? Tribulations are often greater in magnitude, right? Longer in duration. Like a trial may be for a short temporary period of time, but a tribulation is for a longer time period. You're going through something much longer, and it has a much broader impact on our lives, right? So let's think about this for a second. Tribulations and trials. Tribulations could be in the magnitude of slavery. Black people in America has experienced slavery. And I know some of you may be thinking that this was in the past. These were our ancestors. We're not in slavery today. Or how does that affect us today? It most definitely does affect us today, right? So when we look at this actual facts board and how it's broken down to show one side, which represents this nation and the Black man and woman experience here in this nation of America, and what Islam has to offer the black man and woman, right? This has been our experience in America, which is a Christian nation. We have been enslaved. We suffered most definitely during this period. We still are suffering today by the lack of freedom, justice, and equality. And we have died in this nation, have been put to death, not a natural death, but we have been put to death under slavery and suffering by our oppressors. So this has a major effect on who we are today. So don't ever wash our experience going through slavery, going through segregation and all the way up to fighting for civil rights and freedom, justice, and equality. Don't wash these things up under the bridge as if it doesn't matter. It affects who we are today as a people. This is definitely a tribulation that we have experienced as a nation, as a people. But I want to go a little further as to, like I mentioned in the beginning, why does God, Allah, permit us to go through these things? You know, you would ask yourself, why would God allow a people to even go through this type of oppression? Let's see. So there's slavery. We as black people in America has experienced poverty, most definitely. You know, war. You know, we are still in the land of our bondage. So how can we ever think that we are free if we're still in the land of our bondage? We're still here. We have not made an exodus into a new land or a land of our own. We're still here. We're still captives by submission, by free will today. At least back then in the early beginnings of slavery, we were fighting for our freedom to get out of this land, to return back to where we were from. But today, we have submitted willingly. Most of us have no desire to seek a land of our own or return back to the land in which we were taken from. We have no desire. I remember looking at these movies like Roots, and when there was a time where America was fighting for its independence and trying to unite this nation, when the government decided to so-called free the slaves, most of the slaves on the plantation did not want to leave. Many of them were forced to leave. Why? Because out of fear of going for self, doing something for self, because we have been pacified. When I say pacified, I mean that we were given all of our necessities of life by the slave master. They gave us our food. We didn't go out and make our food or hunt and kill our food. It was given to us, the straps of what the slave master didn't eat. We were given shelter, if you want to call it that, a little shack, something that looks worse than your storage shed in the backyard, with no insulation, no air, no heat, no, just a roof and four walls. And clothing, the slave master gave us rags to wear. You seen these slave movies. It was worse than that, though. So out of fear, so these are some of the tribulations that we experience as a people, as a nation. The Holy Quran teaches us in the 29th chapter, or 29th surah, verse 2. It says, do men think that they will be left alone on saying we believe and not be tried? So now we're talking about your faith. For those of you who say you believe, do you not think that you will not be tried? You will definitely be tried and tested in your belief and in your faith. The question is, will you be able to sustain? So I wanted to give us an understanding of trials and tribulations. What is the difference between the two? Because we normally hear those things together, trials and tribulations, but we look at it as just one thing. So we understand that what a trial is, and now we understand what a tribulation is. So now I would like to show the relationship between the two, because they most times go together. So trials can lead to tribulations. Think about that. A trial can lead to a tribulation, which is saying this temporary situation, this not so intense situation, but it is a test. How a test, depending on how you deal with it and how you handle it, could either be resolved and you can learn and grow from it, or you could fail and it could lead to something more trivial, right? Something that can cause a greater impact on your life. So let's think about it. Tribulations contains trials within them. Because think about it, a tribulation can be for a more extensive period of time. And during that tribulations, you can go through many different trials. A tribulation is a time in your life that you will always reflect on, because it has a greater impact in your life. You know, some trials, we'll go through them, and because it was so temporary, or such a um, minor trial, I would use that word, a minor trial. Once we get past that, we tend to forget, and you can often find yourself repeating the same trial because you didn't learn from it, you didn't grow from it. You know, but a tribulation, which is something that has a more extreme effect and a longer duration that we go through it's very impactful. It will change your life. But both trials and tribulations is for growth and purification. Growth and purification. Allah is preparing us for something. Allah is preparing us for life. Allah is teaching us how to endure, not just the blessings, but also the trials and the tribulations. So, Allah permits these things to happen. You know, he could uh, put you through the trial or the tribulation, or he can permit you going through it, because sometimes we create these trials and tribulations ourselves. Is that right or wrong? But Allah permits it. All things in life, in this life that we're living in, this way of life has been permitted by Allah, because he could shut it down instantly. But he allows it, he permits it. Why? So Allah allows us to go through trials and tribulations because those hardships removes arrogance, pride. Yeah, that's a big one. Pride, laziness, and false dependency. Yeah, those habits, those false dependencies. Because you shouldn't have to depend on anything besides Allah, God. But we have other dependencies that removes us away from God. So Allah will allow us to go through these things to see that these things that we are dependent upon is no good or no use to us. So why have these dependencies on things that is like it holds us down, right? Sometimes we gotta shed a lot of these dependencies in order to free ourselves, to bring about peace in our life. So this is what Allah is trying to do, help us do. Because we got to do some of it on our own. He's not just going to set you in heaven. You got to do some of the work yourself. Believe that. The Holy Quran teaches us in the third surah that Allah will not leave the believers in the condition in which you are until he separates the evil from the good. That's it. That's the same thing. He's not going to leave you in this condition. A lot of us have lost faith in God because we've been going through these trials and tribulations for so long, because most of us are stiff-necked and hard-headed and rebellious and unwilling to learn from the trials and tribulations that we're going through. That's why the question is asked in the beginning. How do you know when you're going through a trial? And understanding what a trial is or tribulation is and what is the purpose of it. This is what we're trying to get across to you today, brothers and sisters, so that we don't close a blind eye or turn a deaf ear to these experiences. Some people look at a trial or a tribulation as a curse when it could actually be a blessing. A blessing. We want to hear from you, brothers and sisters. We want to hear your testimonies as to bear witness to these teachings of an experience that you may have went through, a trial or a tribulation, and how you came out on the other side. And I would love to hear both sides of the situation, to where you came out on the other side with the blessing that was in store, or how you came out on the other side and how it affected your life, maybe in a negative way. And why was it a negative outcome? Right? Because some trials or tribulations could end in death. Let that sink in. Some trials and tribulations could end in the loss of freedom. So I would like to hear both, because we all can learn from both. So when we're talking about strengthening faith, a trial reveals whether you truly trust in Allah. Yes, sir. In the Bible, it says, "For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth." If I'm saying the word chasteneth, meaning that he put through a trial. You know, it's like how you tell your children, you know, if I didn't love you, I wouldn't say nothing. I wouldn't do nothing. But because I love you, I may chastise you. I may punish you. I may discipline you. It's out of love. It's out of correction. Same way with God and us. He has to correct us. And by doing that, he takes us through certain trials and tribulations. And usually those tribulations is for those who are very rebellious. When we are rebellious against God, He permits you, because usually you're putting yourself through this trial or tribulation because of your rebellion. He permits you to go through it. See if you will learn from it. See if you will grow from it. It also helps us to develop patience, right? Patience is one of the greatest weapons a believer can have, right? Because with patience, you can endure. See? When you don't have patience, you move hastily. You make irrational decisions because you don't have the patience to either go through the term of a thing or what have you. Patience is truly a virtue. Trials and tribulations is to prepare us sometimes for a greater responsibility. How do you think most leaders become leaders? I'm sure you can't find one leader of any group or organization that didn't have to go through certain trials and tribulations to prepare them for leadership, right? The best leaders were great followers. And as a follower, they had to go through certain things to prepare. Some of us are able to learn by way of example. We may have been under someone's tutelage or under someone's leadership, and whereas we watched and learned and followed in their footsteps. And this would help prevent a lot of trials and tribulations because someone has already laid the path. But then you have those who had to cut out their own way. It's like walking through a jungle and you're not using a path that was cut out. You're cutting out your own path. And in doing so, you're going to go through a more strenuous process creating your own path. And if you're successful making it through that jungle, you would have gained much more knowledge and understanding because you had to do all the work on your own. Nothing was cut out, nothing was laid out. But at the same time, you suffered more. Think about it. You suffered more. In a lot of cases, when someone chooses not to follow a path and try to make their own way, there could be great consequences to the extent of great suffering or death. So this is what the law teaches us. Another thing about trials and tribulations. It separates the real from the fake. Think about it. Hardship exposes hypocrites. Is that right? Weak believers and the sincere believers. Right? Think about that. When you go through a hardship, when you go through a tough time in a trial, look around you after you've gone through it. See who's still around, who still is with you, who is steadfast, and see who have walked away. See, a lot of people like comfort and ease, and that's when they're around. But when you go through hardships and certain trials, they're gone like the wind. We can learn so much. We thank Allah for these trials and tribulations. Next time you go through a hardship, thank Allah. Next time you go through a trial, thank Allah. Because there's a lesson in it. And that lesson is for growth and purification. In the scriptures, it says that many are called, but few are chosen. So trials help us grow. They help us to become more patient. It gives us wisdom, humility. It teaches us discipline. That's right. If you go through a financial hardship, you're going to try to be a little more disciplined, manage your money thereafter. Because if not, you'll go through that hardship again. And it can be worse than the last time. It also teaches us dependence on Allah, God. It teaches us to have compassion for others. When you see others going through a hardship or a trial, and it also helps to produce spiritual morality. Oh yeah. That's becoming one with God. It's just like I know you heard the saying about gold must go through fire for purification. And there's a I wanted to I didn't bring my Bible down, but I have my notes here. In Proverbs chapter 17, verse 3, it says, the fining pot is for silver, and the furnace for gold. But the Lord trieth the hearts. The hearts. Gold goes through the furnace, silver goes through the fining pot. We have to go through the purification of the heart. That's deep. That's deep. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we must first be brothers. That's not a knowledge thing. That's a heart thing. We must first love one another. Not it's with the heart. Some of us are very intelligent, very educated, but it is the purification of the heart that makes you have love and compassion for your brother and your sister. And that's, in my opinion, that is much more needed than anything else. That's why the messenger said we must first be brothers. Trials and tribulations prepare us for what is to come. Think about our conditions right here in America. Our economic instability, moral decline, violence, division in politics, and spiritual confusion. These are some of the tribulations that we're experiencing in present time. Our moral decline is an example of it. We see ourselves so far removed from who we are as a people. The violence that's going on in our communities. We all know why. We know the I want to say the game that was played, but that kind of undermines it a little bit. But the technology, the science, because it's deep. It's deep how this devil of America has conditioned us in our communities to where we inflict injustice on ourselves, to where he can stand back and be the judge of us. But you are you're judging us, but you're the one that created this condition. So we cannot turn to our open enemy for freedom, justice, and equality. It's not in his nature to give us that. We have to seek it from self and from the God of self, Islam. Islam is not a religion. Islam is your nature, who you are as God intended you to be, as a person, as a people, as a nation. So this is why we ask that you come back home, reclaim your own, learn all about yourself, so you can stop being other than yourself. Who are you today, black man and woman? You are the product of your enemy. He has made you who you are today. He has made you a spoiled people, a prideful people, a shameless people, an immoral people. When we look at our children, it looks like there is no hope. When we look at our sons and our daughters, but there is a way, but there's only one way. And that's through the life-giving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Accept your own and be yourself. Accept Islam. Turn to Allah. We can show you the way. We're coming short on time, so I'm going to start wrapping this up, brothers and sisters. Allah is trying to wake us up. And he's going to use or permit these trials and tribulations to be the tool and the instrument in waking us up. Sometimes when you don't do something willingly, you have to be forced into submission. So we have to return to God, whose proper name is Allah. We have to unite as a people. We have to build our nation. We have to build our nation. We have to prepare ourselves for this day of judgment so that we don't be a victim to it. And we must grow stronger as a nation. So when you're going through a trial or a tribulation, it is best to stay connected to God, Allah. And we do that through prayer. You have to pray. We have to study. Yes. You can't do it on prayer alone. You have to pray. You have to study God's words and his teachings. You have to be disciplined, more disciplined than you ever been when you're going through a trial or a tribulation. And you have to show forth obedience, submission to God. Because he will lighten that load or lighten that burden or that hardship so that you can endure. Because there's sometimes where we become so weak trying to endure every obstacle, everything that is put on us. And we feel like we're going to fold. That's when you have to turn to God. And all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, because I don't want this to sound mystical or magical, but God will give you the strength to endure. Either he will lighten the load or he will give you the strength to carry on. And ain't nothing mysterious about that. It's within you. See? This is all within you. It's not outside of you and put in you. It's in you. It just has to be resurfaced. And that's when we turn to God and we send prayers and we study, become disciplined and obedient. And most importantly, brothers and sisters, Going back to patience. Do not allow hardships to destroy your faith, because you would then be lost. So the Holy Quran teaches us, so surely with difficulty is ease. That means that there's going to be an end of the road of or light at the end of the tunnel. We just have to endure it. We have to be patient and let God and time do its job. And then after you go through that trial or tribulations, you have to ask yourself, what is the law teaching me? Go back and reflect. How can I grow from this experience? Because if you go through all of that and you didn't learn nothing, I'm going to say this the best way I can. If you go through all of that and didn't learn anything, then use a fool. No, not you. You are user. Use the food. I'm from the South. You got to excuse me. It just sounds better that way. Use the food. All praises due to Allah. So, in my conclusion, brothers and sisters, trials and tribulations is not a sign that God has abandoned us, right? They are signs that Allah is shaping us, building us, preparing us for something much greater. Much greater. So do not fear. See, fear, that's one thing we can't have. Do not fear, because it ain't whether we will go through a trial or a tribulation. It's more like when. We will all go through it. And we may have witnessed others who have gone through a tribulation that we fear, like a loss of life or a loved one, incarceration, life in prison, loss of property, homes, and things. And we feared. But we should not fear these things. Do not fold or collapse under hardships or tribulations. Stand strong. Keep pushing forward, right? We can't sit down or fold, and we can't go backwards. You got to walk into it. And we got to trust in Allah throughout that process. Stay prayed up. Constant remembrance of Allah. Constant prayer. Turning to Allah. Constant study. Go into the scriptures. Go into the lessons. Go into the books that were given, those divine books. Message to the black man in America. Fall of America. Our Savior has arrived. How to eat to live. Yes, how to eat to live. Because many trials and tribulations deals with our health. You don't want to go to the doctor and he tell you got cancer. That is a tribulation. And many have walked through that particular tribulation and have come out on the other side with substance. Allah is preparing you for something greater than what you are going through. Remember that. When you're going through a trial or a tribulation, know that God, Almighty God, is preparing you for something greater than what you're going through. So I want to thank my brothers and sisters for your time and your attention. I pray to Allah that you have gained something from this lecture, something that will inspire you, something that will prepare you, something that will give you the light of understanding. So I thank you once again. And if you believe in what we teach of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the last and greatest messenger of God, Allah, we ask that you reclaim your own and be yourself so we can endure these trials and tribulations together as one. So as we opened in prayer, we'll close in prayer. Position of prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. All praises are due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, Master of this day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, and thee alone do we beseech for aid. Guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed thy favors, not along the path of those upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray after they have heard thy teachings. Say he, Allah, is one God. Allah is he of whom nothing is independent, but upon whom we all depend. He neither begets, nor is he begotten, and there's none like him. And I bear witness that none or nothing deserves to be served or worshiped besides Allah. And I bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is thy last and greatest messenger to we, the lost found Muslims here in the wilderness of North America. Amen. So until next time, brothers and sisters, I greet you again in the words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum.